Garth Riley here with Doug Anderson, DurhamElection2010.ca, and we have worthy, I don't know, are they worthy?
These guys?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, they're doing a good job. Yeah.
They came on. Have we been giving them an easy ride?
No. No, I think we've thrown some tough questions at them, and they've handled them fairly well. And yeah, there's going to be some more.
Dave Gilbert, Maurice Brenner, Doug Hawkins, starting line for the new CFL franchise in the Oshawa. Oh no, wait a minute. Or they're the new Grand Bandit Kiss. All right, hang on a second. Maybe they're Chilliwack. All right, let's go to a question that will be able to help them. Rock on.
Okay. Yeah. Earlier on, we were talking a little bit about industrial development and the way the tax division follows. And you look through any of the industrial parks anywhere in Durham region, and they're all half empty. You basically go down these streets and you think, what the heck's happening to Durham region? And yet every municipality says, we need more industrial land, we need more industrial land. So there's a disconnect here. Mm-hmm. We don't need more industrial land. We need to fill up the land we already have. So where's the problem here? Do you have a solution to get more industrial development into these communities? Or is this just totally, are we just blowing smoke here? Is this unrealistic?
Well, I think we're at a disadvantage, number one, because we're on the wrong side of Toronto. And years ago, that wasn't such a big deal. But now it is with the 401 the way it is, and Pearson Airport, and there wasn't an airport in Pickering, and companies are locating in Milton and Oakville and different places to the west because they're also closer to the border. So you don't have to try and get your goods through Toronto on the 401 to get to the border points. If you've got executives coming in by air at Pearson, it's just much easier to locate in those areas. Plus, the residential is there as well. That's where people seem to want to go and start their businesses. So getting businesses to this area has been difficult.
So I've got a different opinion on it. And maybe in Oshawa, I understand you may not have the same transportation system. I look at Pickering for a minute. We are actually the gateway to Durham region. We're the gateway to the region of York. We're the gateway to the city of Toronto. The problem, and this is probably right across Durham, is that we have not been competitive in terms of offering the kind of incentives to attract industry and business.
Wait a minute.
No, we haven't been. We haven't been.
No, but hang on. I've been also told all the years I've been on TV that they say, well, we're prevented from offering incentives.
Not true.
We can't give them a special
Not
deal.
true.
Well, that's what I keep hearing from all
you know
you
what?
guys.
That's poppycock. Because I was doing some checking. I was talking to some of the economic development people in Mississauga, in Vaughan, and you know what? They are competing out there. Municipalities do have the capabilities, if they choose, to waive certain penalties or certain fees or certain taxes even to attract business on a short-term basis. I'm not talking about developers, by the way. I'm talking about business to get into those vacant units.
But the only way that you can offer incentives to business is to stick it back onto the residential
No, not true. If you look at, let's look at the tax base for a minute. City of Pickering, 85% residential, 15% non-residential. Okay, so I go out and I talk to a business, just like the car industry was doing when they were going belly up. I offer an incentive, whether I'm economic development, whether I'm the mayor, and I'm talking about, you know what, for the first year and a half, we waive that business tax until you settle, because that's how long it takes. You know, Garth, you're running a new business now before your business establishes on your business case. It doesn't take away from the residential taxpayer because they're not getting the money. Number two, the business community does not use the same level of services. Within the first year and a half after they settle, that pie begins to change. And it can change from 85% to 82%, 80%. And eventually, over a period of time, you've actually indirectly reduced the residential burden by increasing the non-residential sector.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you guys are holding the current regime or people that, sign stuff, is that they really are lackluster compared to our neighbors to the west.
No question.
And we're the ugly sister again. Doug, what about you? What would you say? How would we create more use of our industrial lands and less for lease signs? Hey, by the way, if it was for lease signs, and we got paid on those, we'd be busy.
You should take a view of my election leaders. It's all the lease signs everywhere.
No, forget about you. Sorry. Forget about you.
First of all, I think we can learn from our neighbors. And you mentioned GTA North and GTA West. They're doing quite well. I was struck last week to hear a radio interview with Hazel McCallion telling the world that Mississauga is debt-free. And I thought to myself, she might be 89 years old, but isn't this wonderful? They must be doing something right. They've made a decision to put an emphasis on the high-tech sector. Yeah. We haven't really done that here. but why not? The high-tech sector is growing. And if it doesn't grow here, it's going to grow in Mississauga, Markham, and in the Silicon Valley.
You know what we get excited about here? We get excited about a pizza joint opening. That's like what we see, the biggest ribbon cutting we've seen in a long time in Durham region. And here's another salon. Listen, if we need salons, and salons are industry drivers, like, we're doing great.
Why not the high-tech sector?
We have UOIT.
Yeah,
and that should now be driving people to Oshawa, not just Oshawa, to Pickering.
Let's look at some of the things that we're doing well. Education is one. UOIT, and by the way, I had a hand in the foundation of UOIT some years ago. You dug
something up?
Well, I was on the committee that put it together, a unique concept where UOIT came together with Durham College and formed something great.
Cool.
And I believe you haven't seen anything yet. I believe the future can be glorious for UOIT. It is the Institute of Technology, by the way. Yeah. Maybe we should start calling it the Institute of Technology.
Yeah, but we get to house them at the old Janosh.
Generally, though, around the world where there are universities, especially high-tech universities like UOIT, you get research that comes in as well, and it feeds off that. So that's something that Oshawa has to aggressively pursue down the road.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen it, and if it's out there,
no, because it's. I mean, the university is still relatively new, so it's still, the word is still getting out there. And if Oshawa is not aggressively pursuing that, they need to team up with UOIT to get that type of
another sector where Durham region is strong, and you may not think of this as an industry, but it is, and that's agriculture. It's strong. It is. I say let's make it stronger. Let's support our local farmers.
Yeah,
I have some ideas for that, but I think it's something we should focus on.
I mean, we have some ideas about. We got some of the richest farmland in North Pickering that is underutilized because they don't know if it's going to be sold or redeveloped, and we have stuff there that's not being used. It's been fallow or underused. Maurice, how many years? 20 years almost.
Longer than that, Garth. And you know what? And he's right, because I remember the report out of Guelph University. And in fact, Durham region, probably in terms of farming, and I don't think a lot of people are aware, it's probably the biggest industry in Durham region.
Well, we don't
second to none.
We do not subsidize that. Let's maybe talk about that. Buy local, grow local, and feed local, the 100-mile diet. You know, if we had to survive on what was grown locally, we'd have carrots and potatoes and maybe a bit of corn. The development locally has been lame. There hasn't been any initiative that I've seen about creating robust, properly grown products here that we can actually support ourselves and end the 15,000-mile salad. And we have great land. As regional and local councillors, what will you do about that?
You mentioned the word subsidies. I'm not one philosophically, and you may have to forgive me, I'm not one who believes that subsidies is the answer to every problem.
Know what? Hang on a second. I just got the 2-minute sign, which means, so we're going to come back to this question. We're going to come back and talk about, we have great farmland, we have all of it around us. How are we going to make it happen? One of my guests here is saying he won't subsidize it. Great, charge him through the nose. A lettuce, $17, but it's local. Stay with us. We'll be back more of this topic.